Gather round, everybody. Today's episode is with DJ and Master of Ceremonies, Josef Schein. He brings decades of experience as a professional, who you'll soon hear puts his all into every event for the love of the job and the love of his clients. I feel everyone can gain knowledge from this interview, not just aspiring DJs or MCs, but also anyone that ever wants to host an event, or if you're just someone trying to figure yourself out. And for return listeners, I know I'm a couple days late, and I sincerely apologize for that. It's not always easy to find the time to record and edit these podcasts when I'm also working a full-time job to support the dream of keeping this podcast up and running, which I'll always do. I've had several listeners reach out and ask if I'm going to set up a Patreon or something similar and give bonus content. It sounds really awesome. And if you're out there and listening and interested in more, let me know what you'd want. I'd love to hear the extras that you are excited to hear or would like to see, and the extra support would certainly go a long way. As always, you can reach out to me at dumbenoughpodcast@gmail.com if you have any thoughts or questions or suggestions. Now, on to the episode. Let's get this party underway. Welcome to the podcast, Josef Schein.
Colton, thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on today. So, why don't you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself?
My name is Josef Schein. I reside in Los Angeles. I'm a DJ and a Master of Ceremonies. I've been doing it for quite a few decades now.
Nice. And you do run your own kind of DJ MC industry.
Yes, I run what we call a single op. So just a one-man show. Do work with other DJs. So, from the outside, we look like we're a lot bigger.
Hey, it's a good presentation.
Yeah, so, it works. It works well. It works exactly the way I like it.
Nice. Could you kind of give us a rundown on what the difference is between a DJ and an MC?
Yeah. So what DJs used to be before are a little bit different than, the DJs of today. For those in your audience who own vinyl, when a DJ used to go to do an event, they carried crates of vinyl. And whatever they had, you could ask from whatever they had, but that's it. The expectation that they were going to be able to either purchase or come up with or research or look up something else, that wasn't there. So right there, that was like the immediate difference between a modern DJ and an old school DJ. Nowadays, you could do vinyl, you could be doing CDs if you're still up to it, but most people are doing either digital or they're even streaming. Many of them are streaming. So DJs have access to a lot more material than they used to. So I think the expectation is that a DJ would be very versatile in many genres. They would actually have a wide knowledge of music as opposed to what one used to be before. And I think rightly so. Rightly so. Whenever we're looking for new DJs, new talent, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for people who like music. We're looking for people who absolutely love music. You need to be tapping your toes at all times. You need to be well, not literally, right? But you got to have that beat in your head. You count conversations by the number of, by the rhythm in which it's happening. So that's a really good DJ nowadays. Also, there's an aspect of, especially if you're running a business, there's an aspect of knowing how to do marketing and what have you, and being able to hold a conversation with a potential client. And MCs, I think the MCs, my experience, the MCs of long ago used to be more like ringside announcers. They were, bombastic, and they were very much about the me. In my business, which is basically catering to everybody else, not to ourselves, then the MC is very much about the listening. You need to be a really great listener. The more you listen, the more you pick up on those subtleties, either from your client or from their guests within an event, and you turn that around and you use it within your material. So while you might have something scripted and you need to be able to do that as well, you really need to be able to come up with material on the fly. The way it's always fresh and it's always unique and it's catered to that one client. So I do not recall MCs doing that back then. It was, at least in my experience here in LA back in the 80s, the experience was that MCs were just, very standardized. There were more ringside announcers than anything else. So
Nice.
I think, I think that's what I feel about modern DJs and MCs.
Yeah, and it sounds like everyone went from kind of like a contractor to being their own, from top to bottom kind of presentation. Before it was like, oh, I DJ, specifically people call me in to DJ this, this one thing, and I work with this person. And now you're like, I have to market myself. I do all my own consults. I do everything else. That's a big change.
You absolutely, especially if you're going to turn this into a business, you need to be well versed in a variety of things. And that is true with being an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
The definition of being an entrepreneur, that's it. So to be a DJ and start your own company and have a business of that sort, you need to be an entrepreneur. However, within the business of being a DJ itself and being a master of ceremonies itself, you also need to have a variety of things that before you did not. You really need to be well versed in whatever the popular music of today is at a minimum, and that changes so quickly nowadays. Really goes by really fast. There was a time when we used to call music from England imports. There isn't such a thing anymore. It's just
global.
It's totally global, right? So music can be Korean, music can be Indian, music can be in Spanish, music can be in Hebrew, music can be in all kinds of languages, as long as the audience somehow connects with it, and it will be played on the radio. And then it, very possibly becomes popular culture, and then we will play it, right? So you need to know what that's all about. And maybe not so much about where it's from, or maybe the languages. That's always going to be a barrier.
Right.
But you really need to be well versed in what is going on. It's one of the first things that we ask when we meet a new DJ is what do you specialize in? And you'll get a sense if they immediately say, oh, I can play anything. Well, that'll be great. We'll put that to the test at some point. But very often people will have especially if they've been working in clubs a lot, then they'll have a genre in which they specialize. It doesn't matter if it's hip hop or, Gothic underground or, it doesn't matter what it is. They'll specialize in that and then won't be able to do. But if they want to turn it into a business, you need to spread your wings a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you have to, grow an appreciation for all genres and kind of love it all. But do you have like your favorite, where if it's just you in a car listening to something?
Okay, so let me start by telling you the one genre that I did not listen to, and I never thought I would listen to, and that's it. You cannot convince me that is going to be good music. And I apologize to your audience, first of all, because the genre is massive. It's been massive for a few years. It's been kind of coming up. I didn't know. That was me. That was my bad. And that was country music, American country music. Okay. I didn't have the right appreciation. I had the appreciation for the stars of yesteryears, all the way up to the 80s, but that's about it. And as country music moved and included a little bit more of the rock aspect of it, then I kind of lost it, and I just never thought I would do it. And then one fine season, I worked at one location as a featured, as a preferred vendor, and that location happened to be in an area where country music is very popular. So, it was a lesson to be learned by everyone there, because originally when clients asked me for things, I really didn't know what they were asking for. So at that point, you kind of kick it into high gear. You start studying, you start learning, you start calling some of your friends and go, hey, what's going on with this? What do I need to know? And what have you. And then for that year, I played, I don't know, maybe about 75% of my events, mostly country music. I learned how to like it. I learned how to like it. So I do have a preferred, type of music. I alluded before that I started around the 80s. So I have an affinity for music from the 80s. But as time went on, I developed an affinity for, industrial music and danceable electronica and what have you. So I do have that, and I have a little bit of experience with playing here and there and what have you. And for those who are, in my private life, then they know to call me for me to do some of their private events. But a lot of it doesn't play well when you are looking to, make a living. It doesn't, it's not the best. If I wanted to maybe, kind of go in that direction, maybe I could, but I chose to actually expand and go in all directions. And, it's been great. But I would say danceable, anything danceable really works for me. If I see people, with a smile on their face, enjoying themselves and dancing at some point, we're good to go.
I think that's me every time Whitney Houston's Dance with Somebody comes on.
Right.
I'm like, you've got me.
Right. Colton, you are one of those individuals, which mostly includes just about everyone in the world, that there's at least one song that is going to do that to them. And very often people will say, no, I'm not if I dig, without, poking them too much, right? But if I dig, I will find that song. And with you just volunteered it because it really, really resonates with you. By the way, great song.
Yeah, I love it. And it fits right into that early genre. And I listen to it all the time. And I've heard different versions of it, and they're all great. So.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I could play that song nearly anywhere, and I'm going to pack the floor with it. It's a cheat, if you will.
Sure, I believe that. So if we go back, how'd you get started in this? Like, what was the interest?
Yeah, I really didn't have any interest in being a DJ. I had a thing about my internally about who I am and how I'm being perceived by people, and I had a little bit of external about being this is a podcast, people won't be able to see it, but something about my face, I just didn't, and I was a kid, and I was a teen, and people can probably pick up on an accent, so I wasn't from around here, and I just had a lot of things going on. Being a DJ, no way. Because at some point I thought, I'm going to need to talk on a mic or something, forget it. However, I did have an affinity for music, and I always did. According to my parents, I was born singing. So, and not for singing, but yeah, music was always at home. There was always music playing. The first music that I remember, according to my parents, was something by the Platters, Smokies in Your Eyes, or, The Great Pretender, or who knows. But so as time moved on, once I immigrated to the United States back in 1980, fast forward, I had a couple of friends that they loved music as much as I did, and their brother became a DJ because he used to go to clubs, and he saw that the DJs played there, and they were all surrounded by women, and they were like, yeah, I want that. And unfortunately for him, he knew nothing about music. So, and his business, while he could get a client, he couldn't retain relationships because he just didn't do it, didn't do it right. And so his brother said, hey, why don't you talk to Joe? Let him tell you about music, let him buy you music and things like that. So I became the music purchaser for him. And then eventually I became a roadie, helping set up equipment and what have you. And back in the 80s, for those who remember, there were walls of speakers, walls upon walls. So nowadays, we travel with equipment that weighs maybe about 35 pounds, per speaker or something to that effect. It's a lot simpler because technology has advanced so much. But back then, oh my geez. I did that, and one fine day, I guess his dream came true, that DJ with, one girl on each arm kind of thing. And he says, oh, take over. And I'm like, no. I'm the roadie. I don't take over. And just do it. And that's exactly what I did. There's an old school phrase says, to put the needle on the record, and that's exactly what I did. If I'm not mistaken, it was Michael Jackson, something from Thriller, maybe even Thriller, or Billie Jean, who knows what it was, because it was right around that time. That was it. That's all I needed. People were cheering and screaming and what have you, and I said, oh, I want to do this. And Colton, but you couldn't get me on a microphone. There was no way. You couldn't pay me enough to get on a microphone. That needed some more work, which I actually find that to be true with a lot of individuals who are DJs themselves, and they're like, no, I don't MC, I'll be your DJ, but I won't MC. And I said, if you would like to get ahead in this business, and let's be serious, make a little bit more money, you need to MC. So what is it that we need to do to repair that? So for me, it was all very personal, very internal, and I overcame that. And that's how it started, and I've been at it since.
Yeah. So, and part of that, learning and getting better and becoming more desirable. What are kind of the great skills you have to work on and develop to do that?
Right. So, for me, I think the benefit of starting with vinyl, that to me was a benefit. There's nothing wrong with starting with digital, but I think the more layers you have, the more different abilities you have in doing something, then the more robust you have. They have, you can approach different things from different angles. So I'm always going to be grateful that I started way back then, and I continue now. DJs that are starting now, they're going to start digital, and I don't know where technology is going to take them. So they're going to have that advantage as well. I think, working with vinyl, being able to, again, loving music, I think that is something you absolutely have to have. We are going to be like singers. If we get popular enough, we're going to be playing the same song over and over and over and over. And at some point, if you do not love music, that song that you love, you're going to learn to hate it because you played it so often that you're sick and tired of it. So you need to kind of go to a different level. You need to be able to, at some point, learn something about business. If you're going to turn it into a business, take some business classes. If you're going to attend college, I recommend whatever you do, and if you attend college, take business classes. Everything else, go do that, but take business classes. So when it comes to being a DJ and wanting to turn that into a business, absolutely. Business classes would come in handy. Learn to network, either join a networking association or find a local chapter of a DJ group or something like that, or event planners or event professionals or anything like that, and join that group, stay with them, learn to listen, learn to interact, get yourself some business cards, and learn the balance between, introducing yourself, like what we're doing right now, a little bit me, a little bit you, and then letting somebody else kind of jump in. I think people, it's a little bit more general, but when it comes to business, allowing people to have their say is very, very important.
Yeah. Now, say I develop all those skills, but I'm fresh on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of my vernacular there. I'm fresh on the scene. Yeah. What do I charge as a new MC or a new DJ?
Okay, so you're assuming that you charge from the get-go. Okay, no,
Okay,
you know.
that's a good place to start.
Okay, let me actually tell you, go back a little bit in time. So I raised a family during the 90s, and that was a time when I worked a lot less, and I nearly gave it up. I was dedicated to the family, raising a couple of kids, and that, really takes time, takes dedication, and working full time and being a DJ. That wasn't necessarily something that I could do. So I nearly gave it up. Packed all the equipment, put it away. I wasn't practicing, wasn't doing anything. When I came back to doing it, right? So my kids are all grown up. They're all moved on. Now they have the kids of their own. When I came back to doing it, I met a group of DJs, and I discovered immediately that nobody cared that I was popular back in the 80s, in my part of Los Angeles. Nobody cared about that. So I said, look, I'll carry equipment. They said, yeah, but I thought you were, yeah, I'll carry equipment. And he goes, all right, I can only give you $50. And I said, fine by me. Fine by me. So I got paid $50 to carry speakers and tripods and tables and mixers and controllers, and then start connecting everything. But one of the things that I got to do was, well, first of all, wear a suit again, and to go out, in public in a suit, stand there and listen to experienced DJs do what they do best, and then watch the audience react to what it is that they do. So not only was I getting paid $50, which might seem like nothing, but the amount of learning that I was doing, that would have cost me hundreds upon hundreds of dollars, because going with an experienced DJ, one, not necessarily doesn't need to be popular. It needs to be able to do the work with the clients, be able to read a crowd, be able to know what fits into the mood that they're trying to create. That you can't pay enough for that. All right. So if you were a fresh DJ, the first thing I would say is try and get paid $50 to carry somebody else's equipment. Okay. Do not think of that as, a step back. Think of it as a step sideways. Okay. Because you're going to need to do many different things to get to your ultimate goal, whatever the ultimate goal might be. So take a step sideways, get paid, whatever it is that they offer you, carry the equipment, wear a suit, or, for anybody else, be well dressed, be well presented, stand on the side, be ready to help out whenever you can, and soak it all in. At some point, you'll get paid $150. So you'll go up in what it is that you get paid. It doesn't matter if you do the exact same thing. Somebody says, you know what, I'll give you $150 to carry the equipment. And then you'll do that. And then at some point you will say, you know what, I can actually DJ too. And then they will say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do the introductions. I want you to take cut 1, and I want you to insert it here. And I want you to take cut 2 and do this, that, and the other thing. There's a little bit of a lingo. It's not like radio. It's a lot more, the terminology is a lot more English than anything else. And then you'll get to show what you do. And then you get paid a little bit more. It'll take a bit before you start making big money. But big money also comes from working a lot and being acknowledged for the work that you do and being hired more often. Because even if you charge $1 million to do an event, but you do one event every 10 years, all right, you only made $1 million every 10 years. That doesn't really sound as much all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it sounds, like almost like an internship. You went to business school. You now want to learn to do business successfully. You're going to intern at a very successful business and probably not make much. I know when I came out of high school, I worked an intern job and I made $300 a month. So $50 for a night sounds great to me.
Yeah. Perspective.
Right.
It's always going to be about perspective. Being a DJ is very much about perspective. Can you imagine what I thought the first night that I did an all country music event?
Sure.
That was
Yeah, you're like,
perspective. I needed to get a perspective on that. I could have been there going like, oh my God, this is horrible. Guess what? It wasn't horrible. People were having a great time. That's my job, to help people have a great time. So perspective was, so the music is not necessarily what you want. So $50, sure. Perspective.
yeah. And this is kind of a tangent, and I take these every once in a while. But do you ever, you go into a show and you don't feel well, maybe you're sick or you're whatever, and then you start, seeing the entire party come to life, and it starts to make you feel, like you're getting energy from the whole thing, and you feel more alive until you get off stage, and then you kind of just go right downhill.
I don't remember one right off head, but I'm going to say all the time that I've done it, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm sure I had, a bad day. I had an event where I didn't make it to the event, and my car broke down on the side of the road. And I was working with another DJ. I called them up. They helped me load up as much equipment into their vehicle. We took off. Meanwhile, my vehicle, unbeknownst to me, got vandalized. Thousands of dollars worth of damage and what have you. I didn't know that was happening.
Right.
But at that point, I was having a pretty bad day. I was stuck on the side of the freeway. I was there waiting, and we drove 2 hours to the location. We set up. The setup was horrible. It was an incline, and it was dirt and dust everywhere. And we carried everything by hand. It took us 3 hours to set up. The event itself was amazing, exactly for the same reasons you said. People bring that out. If you are open to receiving it, you will get it. Now, you can either be open and give it to the guests, give that happiness, give that joy, give that positivity, and then they will take it from you, or you can be open and receive it from them. It's very much a give and take. I actually believe that as people, we tend to feed off of each other if we want to. Of course, you could be a sourpuss and then not have fun. But then again, everybody's going to see that. More than likely, a picture will be taken. You're going to end up on social media and go, yeah, this is what my DJ looked like. You do not want that. Find a way to find your way to joy. Okay. I did an event. The event was 9 hours, was a 9 hour long event. It started at 7 hours, but they booked me for an additional 2. Great. After 15 minutes into the extra 2 hours, they were offering me some food, and I was like, yes, that'll be great. I took a bite of an empanada and I broke a tooth. No. So for the next nearly 2 hours, I was in massive pain. So I actually started playing. By that point, they would have danced to anything.
Yeah.
All right. They would have danced to a dirge if I would have played it. But I started playing music that I like, that I thought that they might like. And that really helped me to kind of get out of my head, because the pain was absolutely unbearable. Finished the night, client came over. Oh my God, it was a great, amazing thing. You're welcome. I'm so glad to stay in chat, but I gotta go, and she inquired, and I told her, yeah, I broke a tooth a couple hours ago.
Jeez.
They couldn't tell. They couldn't tell. You need to find your way back to joy. So if you can do it, yeah. It might come with experience. Like if you're having a bad day, geez, I don't know, watch cartoons before you go, something.
Right. Something to get you excited again.
Yeah. There's so many different things that you can do. Go get your favorite meal. I don't know. Take a shower, something.
Yeah.
Take you out of that funk. Yeah.
Okay. So say I'm established now. I'm not making $50 a night, and I'm scheduling my own events. How do you start? Say I have a new customer comes to me. What's the process like?
All right. So I always ask for a consultation. So way back when, consultations were mostly done by phone or in person. Choices were limited. Nowadays, at some point you could do email. And we thought of email very impersonal. But society changed, and society no longer thinks of the written word as impersonal. And we do a lot of communication via text. So there's a rule, might be a little bit unwritten, but it's one that we kind of abide by. We respond to clients the way that clients reach out to us. They call us, we call them back. They email us, we email back, we text back, and so on and so forth. So that's how you start communicating with a client. Now, if you mean even further back, how to acquire a client, that is a long conversation. But I will tell you about a client called you. They heard about you. They found you something. You put a flyer on their car. I don't know how they found you.
Sure.
Now you are starting that conversation. You want to get an opportunity to show them what their vision could be interpreted by you. All right. So a client calls. I'm gonna give you something that happens very often. They're getting married. They have a venue. They're not very versed on music or traditions or when, what, how, this and that. They decided to save a little bit of money on an event planner, which I do not recommend that. If you don't, then you don't. But if you can, do it. Get an event planner. Have someone helping you out. But if you don't, get a DJ that really knows what they're doing. So a client calls me, tells me they don't have an event planner, and then we go. So one of the things that I'm going to try and do is go with them to the venue, and we're going to do a walk and talk. And then I'm going to point at different locations, and I'm going to say, okay, this is where you are going to be sitting, and you are facing this way, and coming your way at from this distance, this is what's going on. So what I'm doing is I'm putting them there in the future. Right. And so even if you do that in conversation, or if you do that in person, if you do it via text, you want to try as much as possible in the consultation, put them in the future, and then put yourself in that future too. That way they can see you there. And at some point, once you kind of see it and you like it, the likelihood that you are going to book it increases. And so I will say this technique works for me. I know it doesn't work for everyone. And I know a lot of friends of mine, dear friends of mine, very popular and what have you, they use other techniques when it comes to the consultation. But, that is a really good way of also helping the client, as far as I'm concerned, really good way of helping the client to kind of learn a few things as they go along. Because I also recommend that aside from me, they go interview 2 other DJs. I want them to know what's out there. I do not want them to just blindly hire me because guess what? I told them to. Great, but it's not how I like to either run the business and now the one thing is trust. I will tell them as soon as you feel that you truly trust me, that's when you book me. Do not wait. Do not let me go, because I will put you down as an inquiry. And when somebody else calls me, I will give you 24 hours to book, or that date and time goes to someone else. And I can't tell you how many times that has actually happened. It's horrible. It's really terrible. Oh, we're ready to book you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I reached out to you 2 days ago. I'm booked now. I'm gonna send somebody else to do your event, but not me. And that is a shame. But when you've gotten to that point and now they've booked you, you need to know that you've helped them in such a way that they couldn't get from point A to point B unless they spoke with you. So I would say that's what you want to do. That's how you want to get started. Throw them and yourself right into it.
No, it sounds good.
Yeah.
And then say I was looking to hire someone. Other than your advice to, talk to 3 DJs and find someone you trust and you vibe with, is there any other advice you'd give someone?
So, you can go online and educate yourself, take everything with a grain of salt, because just because it's online, that doesn't mean that it's true. Find someone you trust, ask family members for referrals. Ask your community for referrals, and start the process. If you're getting married, start the process as soon as possible, because at some point you're going to find the process kind of draining you, and you don't want that. It's the job. I see that it's the job of your, DJ, master of ceremonies, and event planner to kind of guide you through it and keep you as sane as possible and keep you in track. So trust, is absolutely paramount. Once you trust them, and then you can just leave it in their hands, then you don't have to worry about it, right? So, but yeah, I think educate yourself. I would say that budget, whatever it is that you're doing, create a budget. It doesn't matter if your 3-year-old child is having a birthday party and you're just, inviting a few family members. It doesn't matter if you're throwing a 500 people, massive wedding over, I don't know, somewhere in LA, that would be expensive. It doesn't matter. Make sure you have a budget and you try and stick to it as much as you possibly can. Stuff will come up and you might have to break the budget, but have a budget. So I do not use the word budget with clients unless I'm actually talking to them about their money, not what it is that they will be paying me. Right. I think because very often people do not know, there's no reason why they should know about, DJs and MCs and what it costs or what it could cost, what have you. So, educate yourself, ask a lot of questions. So I said 3 DJs because any more would be just unnecessarily confusing. But more than likely after, meeting with 3 people, you've learned so much. Hopefully those are the kind of DJs that actually give you valuable information, freely give you valuable information without being afraid. Oh, I'm giving away the
trade.
Yeah, I'm giving away stuff, and then they're gonna go book DJ number 2. Oh no. Sorry, I've seen that. So yeah. I think that's what I would recommend people putting together a celebration.
Yeah. And it kind of sounds like, beyond learning to love the music, you've also kind of got to learn these other traditions and, the applications that go into these celebrations, even if they're not necessarily something you're already familiar with.
Right. So at some point, you're going to come across a culture that you've never come across before. It's not that you never heard of it. It's just that you never interacted. Right. And now as a DJ, not only are you playing music, I want to make sure that everybody listening out there understands this. A DJ is one of the few strangers who are invited, to a certain sense, to be in somebody's very private moment. They're getting married. They selected 250 of their closest friends, family members, co-workers, people, whatever. They've selected them. They've agonized over the 250 because there's another 1,000 that they did not invite. And then you, as a DJ, master of ceremonies, event planner, and maybe the staff in the venue are the few strangers who get to be there. To me, that's an honor. Okay? That's an honor. So I want everybody to kind of, for those who might be DJs out there and for those who are going to have an event, I want them to start thinking that your DJ should be thinking of it as an honor to be allowed to be at your celebration, even though they're working, right? So, Colton, could you prompt me again with a question? Because I think I was heading in that direction and I lost my track of thought.
No, you're doing great. I was just talking about having to learn these different traditions.
Right. So at some point, you're going to come across a tradition that you've never. Now, you want to honor those traditions. And the way to do that is to do it right. Now, I wouldn't suggest to try and fake it. So telling a client from the beginning, I know nothing about this. I'm going to give you an example. I hope examples really kind of highlight. So I got a call from an event planner. We met at a bridal show. We hit it off. She said, "Oh my God, I have some clients that I know are going to love you." She calls me up and she says, "I have a couple that are getting married in, I can't remember, 6-7 months, and I think it would be perfect." And I said, "Great." So I'm thinking, since I have a couple of cultures, I'm part of a couple of cultures, I'm thinking that's where she's going. She says they're Chinese. And I was like, okay, you understand I have no connection to the Chinese culture. And I actually know, aside from the fact that I know that there's a tea ceremony within the marriage itself, I couldn't tell you anything else about that. And she says, no, the reason I'm connecting with you is because I know you will find the right people to help you with this. Okay. Okay. So in this case, that's exactly what you would need to do. You're going to come across cultures. You're going to need to, first of all, admit that it's not your strength, and then educate yourself about what it is that you need to do if you're going to get them as a client. And then you're going to need to do the work and find the right people for that. So I mentioned networking earlier, and this is where that comes in handy, because if you've done your work, you already have a selection of talent from which to pick. Now, if you are a multi-op, meaning, you actually pay multiple DJs to be at the ready for you, and then you send them on various events, that's one thing. And hopefully, there might be a variety there, and maybe somebody within your crew is familiar with the Chinese culture, and you can send them to do that. Or maybe it's you yourself. In my case, I did not. I did research. I called up friends. I went online. I read thousands and thousands of reviews, and I narrowed it down to one individual. I contacted them, and we spoke, and then we spoke again. The gentleman was fluent both in Cantonese and Mandarin. Had done, I think he had done dozens of weddings. I don't think it was hundreds. I think it was dozens at that point. And he aced it. Now, I'm going to tell you, I didn't understand that word because it was all done in Mandarin. Even the music I played, about half of it, because I DJ'd the event. He emceed, I DJ'd. Half of it was in Chinese. So I didn't understand a lot of that either. I had to vet the music through my MC to make sure that there's no profanity, that the subject is not inappropriate, and things to that effect. So you're going to need to educate yourself. The more you do it, the more it's going to happen. But you're going to be so much better for it, both as an individual. It's going to open up your eyes, and then as a professional. If you're paying attention, once you do an event, you know how to get started on the next one that that is the same or similar. That was a lot of fun. I remember that was quite a few years ago. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Has there been a type of event like that maybe you were unfamiliar with, or maybe it's the most common thing, but one that you enjoy the most?
So when I decided to kind of come back to DJing and start doing it again, and really open up a company and maybe make some serious money at it and what have you, then I joined a group of DJs that were meeting in one of the suburbs of Los Angeles. And I kind of walked into the meeting and I introduced myself, how are you, this and that. And at the time I was playing a lot of industrial, Gothic music for, friends and, various crowds and what have you. And so when I kind of introduced myself, and at some point they asked me, and I said, yeah, I'm going to be the Gothic DJ. I figured there's got to be a niche in the Gothic community for people who get married, and I want to be that DJ for them, and I'm going to play music. And yeah, I remember just about everybody kind of tilted their head down, and I know that your audience cannot see it, but they kind of tilted their head down, they kind of looked at their knees, and then eventually after a few months, the leader of the group kind of came over to me, put his arm around me and said, Joseph, you sound like a very knowledgeable guy, but you and I will never work together. And I'm like, I was like, what? Why not? Well, I mean, I have so much to offer to this group, and I speak various languages, and I've got all these years of experience, and I've been around, and I know people. And he goes, yeah, but you're a Gothic DJ. I'm never going to make any money off of you. And I said, no, I can play all kinds of stuff. And he goes, then why do you keep on introducing yourself as that?
You're like, I'm trying to make a brand here.
Yes, I'm trying to kind of create something here. I mean, I didn't know if that existed or not. I didn't, at that time, I'll be honest with you, I was just getting started in networking myself. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you a try. So he was one of those individuals who was paying me $50 to help him carry equipment at the very beginning. And eventually I started DJing while he emceed. And then eventually he started sending me out to do events for his company. And in one of those events, he calls me up. He goes, Joseph, you won't believe this. I just got off of the phone with a client and I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, it's a goth couple.
You're like, yes.
Yes, that's right. I waited years to meet a goth couple. And he was wearing a beautiful black suit with a red tie. She was wearing a gorgeous red wedding gown. And when we got into conversation, she's like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. I can tell you how many DJs we spoke to. They had no idea what we were talking about.
And you're like, I know exactly what you need.
Yeah. Okay. And I was like, okay, look, this is it. This is that, this, the other thing. And, again, so if there's something you like and it just happens to match what the client needs, it's going to be even more so. Yeah, no, that was great. Now, we didn't play that much industrial music or anything like that because a lot of the guests were family. A lot of the guests were coworkers. They were not into that. That was for them and their friends. So we did a little bit of that and a little bit of everything else, and everything worked out great. But it doesn't matter what it is. If it's strange, if it's out of the ordinary, if it's uncommon, if it's new to you, study up, learn something new, spend a little bit of time with it. Take notes, take furious notes as you and I are talking, and your audience can hear the paper wrestling there.
Yeah.
I take furious notes as I talk with anyone. It's a way of kind of going back over it and go, oh, this is what we said. This is what I need to brush up on. What if Colton asked me a question that I do not know the answer to? I mean, I should hope so. After this many years, I'll have some sort of an opinion about something. But take notes. So, yeah, that was I think that was the event when it just was perfect. It was perfect. Just once. There were a couple of couples that did Halloween things and things like that, and people going like, "Oh, that was gothic," and I go, "Yeah, you're not really understanding what I'm talking about, are you?"
Yeah, you're like, it's themed.
It's a Halloween theme. Yeah, it's different. It's different. Yeah.
Have you ever had any that are really like way up there, even on the strange scale for abnormal?
Well, I've attended events. I think for me, the oddest thing that I did was an actual Halloween event. Another company called me up. So one of the things about being a DJ is if you have time on your schedule and people have seen you perform and now you're appreciated enough, they will call you and try and hire you for their company, because if they have a possibility to make a little bit of money off of you working for them, everybody wins, right? So I got a call from this other company and they said, we got this event in Santa Monica and we want you to talk to the client. And I said, okay, great. Called up the client and the client explains to me the location, and I immediately know that I'm going to be working in a box. It's not literally a box, but it's a box backyard. And certain neighborhoods in Santa Monica, for those who know, I mean, the backyard is tiny. So you make do with what you have. But it wasn't that. It was the fact that he said, I need you to help me with some of the things that I want to do that night. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to have roaming entertainment. They're going to be walking around the house. They're going to be walking around the front of the house, in the backyard, and I want them to entertain guests. And I said, okay, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I'm going to give you an idea of what it is that I've done in previous years. And he gave me this really long list of acts that were anywhere between the burlesque, the more sexually inclined, and circus.
Okay, that's broad.
Yes. But he had been doing it for a few years. So imagine everything kind of mixing together. I don't know. You imagine, I don't know, like what if Tim Burton was throwing a birthday party or something? I don't know, or at the Playboy Mansion. So maybe that's what that would look like. So as I was talking to him and he said, come up with an idea. And I said, I got to come up with an idea. He said, yeah, because I think I'm kind of like running dry. And I said, well, you're in Santa Monica, not too far from here. There's the Venice Boardwalk. How about, there's a freak show there. How about contacting the freak show and getting some of the acts? He light up. And I said, look, I actually have a contact. I haven't spoken with them in years, but let's see if they can help me out. Well, unfortunately, my contact was dry and I got nowhere. I spoke with a gentleman that, lays down on nails. But we didn't go anything beyond that conversation.
Yeah.
And the client actually ended up booking an animal wrangler, which is great. Not so great when you have a tiny backyard and people don't have a place to run away when you kind of walk into the place with this giant owl. The biggest owl I've ever seen. It looked like an American eagle. Well, a condor. I think condors are even bigger.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I went a couple places during that conversation where you're like, oh yeah, it was going to be this the circus and this Halloween, and I'm like, were you working for Tim Burton?
Yeah. Well, it is one of my favorite things to do is Tim Burton movies and what have you. But I don't think that's going to surprise many people that know me, or that have been paying attention to the conversation so far. Yeah. Again, so we never ended up doing this really odd thing, but we were kind of going in that direction. I look forward to doing more unusual events, not necessarily because of the unusual aspect of it, but because that's going to give me an opportunity to expand on what it is that I can do with my art. What is it that I can do with music when I'm challenged with, yet something else that I haven't done yet. So, there was a time when I didn't do a street fest. Okay, so what is it that I did then? The first time I did it, I had to experiment. The second time, I kind of knew what to do. The third time, I already aced it. Fourth time, I had, companies calling me, going like, hey, Joseph, we saw you doing this, and so on and so forth. So I kind of want to do that. It opens up another branch in the tree of possibility.
Yeah, I don't know if this has been done or if it's a nightmarishly bad idea, but I'll just shoot it out there for the sake of saying it.
Please.
If there's ever a good sized event, you just hire like 30 street magicians and then don't dress them up in any discernible way. And then just let interactions go off the rails. You never know if you're talking to a magician or not. And things just go horrifyingly wrong.
Look, you wanna the point is to put a smile on your clientele, whatever it is. So if it's a street fest, it's your much larger clientele. It's everyone there, right? You want to put a smile on their face. You want to entertain them. So releasing 30 street magicians on the populace, I think it's a great idea. Because you turn around and you see a guy levitating, you see a guy and you see flying cards that kind of boomerang back. And then you see a guy that, is, I don't know. I just imagine all of things. Chris Angel kind of comes to mind, and David Blaine, I think his name is, they come to mind, all those really, mind-boggling things, that would be amazing. 30 of them.
Yeah.
Wow. Colton,
just unleash them on the populace.
That's amazing, because there are things that are a little bit of the unexpected. What we do as MCs and putting together an event, it's a little bit like theater. And I use this analogy with my clients. When you buy a ticket to go to the theater, you see what's happening, on stage. But on the other side of that curtain, there's people running around like mad, making sure that you are really being entertained and having the best time of your life. That's what we do. We have the behind the curtains and we have the in front of the curtains. So, it's all about making sure that the client is having a great time.
Yeah. And it sounds like, you put your heart and soul into it, and it always shows through in the work.
And back
And back
into it. And we put our relationships into it. I can't tell you how many times I got yelled at for way back when for spending hours in a record store. The younger set might not remember this, but if they find a record store, they'll know what I'm talking about. Just, really going through one record after the other, and it takes hours, and you're just doing it. Yes, I've kind of invested a lot into it, but I get a lot out of it. I really do.
Yeah, sounds like it. And that reminds me of my just dumb enough moment in talking to someone that I learned the fun fact from, which is the plural of vinyl is vinyl.
Yeah. I don't believe there's vinyls. And yeah.
Yeah, I said it in a conversation and someone corrected me. They're like, it's just vinyl. It's like, oh, well, now I get to talk about that.
Colton, I'm going to tell you that I can't tell you who, because they're going to be very upset at me, but we convinced someone that, polyesters are being killed in the thousands to make sweaters. And we got them to tears.
Oh.
And yeah, it was years until we explained that, by then they go, oh, no, I know. You guys were making fun of me.
That's a good one, actually.
Polyesters. What's a polyester? And I go, polyester. Well, they're not very big.
Not very big. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. If this ever gets, big enough that I have a physical event, I'm gonna have to call you in, and we're gonna have to set up something wacky.
Well, Colton, that would be my pleasure. It's again, if it's something out of the ordinary, even more so, you gotta always be stretching yourself out there, trying to find something that you haven't done yet, and then go do that thing.
Absolutely. Any other projects you have in the works, or anything big you want to do?
Well, I think like many people, I had to zig and zag, most recently. And I, before we started recording, one of the things that I said is, when you get an MC to talk, you're not going to have a problem. This is what we do. We get paid for talking, we get paid for presenting, what have you. So I had been networking, presenting my business for quite a few years. And then I had an opportunity knock on my door, and a colleague of mine said, look, I'm going to start doing business networking, virtually, and I would like for you to co-host with me. And I said, okay, how is that going to play out? And she said, well, let's just kind of start pretty standard. And so eventually, it became the kind of thing where we can now monetize it. And now there's, it becomes a little bit more robust. Now there's people that want to sponsor, and then there are people who want their commercials, and, because, we're just, big enough and things to that effect. That was one thing. And I'm working on a YouTube channel. I've been working on it way too long. So, but nobody's actually done my idea yet. And no, Colton, I'm not about to tell you what it is.
Hey, don't tell me.
I can't. So nobody's done it yet. So it makes me wonder, is it such a bad idea, so I shouldn't do it? Or is it so awesome that I don't know. I'm going to go for it. But yeah, I'm working on that. So,
nice. Well, I mean, let me know when you do get it up and running, and I'll blast it out to people. I like to give updates and, keep people on it. And this is kind of my passion project, in that, it's taken me a lot longer to get some momentum on it than I initially thought. I bought gear. I thought I'll do it, and it took me, half a year to really start getting into the flow of like, oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing.
Right. Look, Colton, when when you asked me and I read up about the project, I was like, I'm in. This is, one never knows how big this will this will be, right?
Right.
No reason why this couldn't be massive. But to have, personally, to have the experience of having been there at the beginning of it all, that would be amazing. If you don't mind, I want to say, to those who are out there, that if they're an aspiring DJ, just keep at it. We're always in the market. No, let me rephrase that. There's always space for more DJs. There's tons of them around here in LA. If I get out of the house, I trip over a couple of DJs before I get to the bus stop. There's always space for more DJs, because some of them are bedroom DJs, some of them are club DJs, some of them are going to tour, some of them are going to open for bands, some of them are going to be wedding DJs, some of them are going to just be DJs, but they won't be MCs. So there's a really big variety there. And the space is open to everyone. And when I say everyone listening, I actually mean everyone. Doesn't matter who you are or what it is that you're doing. So, Colton, once again, I really appreciate the platform and the opportunity to kind of, introduce the art of DJing to a much larger crowd.
Of course. And I hope, I think people really enjoy this. We've had a lot of fun, just the two of us talking. But you did just kind of remind me that, like, I hope DJing and public events are coming back to the larger front here soon, because it's been a while, and I think people need it. I think people need that physical kind of catharsis.
Yeah. So for those who might be listening to this later on, because magic of podcasting, this will be there for years and years and years. So we're in 2021. We are at the tail end, and in Los Angeles, we're still a little bit apprehensive. We're walking around with masks and what have you. Events are permitted, and for those who are vaccinated, we're okay. But we're still keeping our fingers crossed for our brothers and sisters who are not vaccinated. But we're doing events, and people want to get together with other people already. It's nature to really want to enjoy each other's company and have a good time. So we are going to be there, and we are going to do our part. Maybe playing music, or maybe cracking jokes on a mic.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get back to it. It's still a little restricted up here in Oregon, but I think we're getting back there, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And Colton, when you get the 1 year anniversary, give me a call.
Absolutely.
And we'll throw a party.
I can't wait. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you if they're looking to hire a DJ or an MC, or just try and learn more?
Sure. Yeah, actually, any of them. So if you are looking for information, if you got an event coming up, somebody who's got an event coming up, or you are looking for information for the future for yourself, or if you are trying to get into the DJ business, of course, you can give me a call or text me at 818-564-1674, or you can check out more information on our website, LosAngelesBestDJ.com, LosAngelesBestDJ.com. And the name of the company is Dance Forte, DANSEFORTE. So they can just find it on Facebook and Instagram. We're even on Twitter. So there's a lot there.
Absolutely. I hope
there's a lot of work for a one-man op.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on, and I cannot wait to now have the 1 year. We're going to do something fun.
My pleasure. We're looking forward to the 1 year, Colton. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for listening. If you can, please just tell someone you know about the show. Word of mouth has and always will outpace any form of advertising I could ever do. If you have a specific topic you'd like to hear, email me at dumbenoughpodcast@gmail.com, or drop by the Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and just ask. I've had a couple suggestions from listeners now, and I've followed up on all of them, I promise. Several of which are going to be in some episodes soon. So until next time, bye-bye.